You lived through your first years. You learned faces, voices, fear, comfort. So why is there almost nothing you can remember? The usual answer is that babies simply cannot form memories. But that is not true. Babies do remember. The real question is, why do those memories almost never become part of the story you can later call my life? A baby can learn that a familiar voice means safety. It can recognize a face it has seen before. It can learn what usually happens next. If one event is followed by another often enough, a baby begins to expect the pattern. So early life is not blank. In a recent study, scientists found signs that by around 1 year of age, a baby's hippocampus, a brain region important for memory, may already help encode individual experiences. But this does not mean a 1-year-old remembers life in the same way you do. A baby may recognize a familiar face today, but years later, you cannot return to that moment and say, I remember seeing that face. Think about one of your earliest memories, maybe a birthday, a room you used to know, the first day at a new school. It is not only an image, you can place yourself inside it. You may know who was there. You may remember what happened before or after. You can say, that happened to me. That kind of memory is called autobiographical memory. It is not just information. It is a personal event connected to a time, a place, and a growing sense of who you are. And building that kind of memory takes time. In the first years of life, several important abilities are still developing. Language is growing. A stable sense of self is still taking shape. And the past is not yet organized into the timeline you use today. A baby can feel comfort. It can recognize the person holding it. It may remember what usually happens before a bottle, a bath, or bedtime. But it cannot yet easily turn those experiences into a story it can later tell. Not because the experience meant nothing, but because the tools for holding onto it are still under construction. One important piece of the answer is language. Words help us give an event a shape. They help us connect people, places, and actions. They help turn something happened into, Grandma gave me a red balloon at the park. When adults talk with children about the past, they also help organize those experiences. What happened? Who was there? How did you feel? What happened next? Over time, memories become easier to describe, revisit, and share. But language is not the whole answer. Even children who can speak may later lose access to many memories from their earliest years. The brain is changing rapidly during this period. The systems that support memory are still developing. And a memory that can be retrieved by a young child may not survive in the same form as that child grows older. This is why scientists call the gap in our earliest memories infantile amnesia. It does not mean that infancy was empty. It means adults usually cannot recall the events of infancy and very early childhood. For most people, the first memories that feel clear and personal begin somewhere around the preschool years. But there is no single age for everyone. Some people remember a small fragment from earlier, a light through a window, the feeling of a hospital room, the arrival of a younger sibling. But early memories are often brief, uncertain, and difficult to separate from photographs or family stories heard later. So what happens to the memories that came before? The honest answer is that scientists do not yet know completely. Some early memories may fade because they were not strengthened enough to last. Some may become harder to retrieve as the brain and the way it organizes memory change. And it is possible that some early traces remain without becoming memories you can consciously revisit. But it is important to keep one point in mind. We cannot say that every memory from infancy is still stored somewhere, waiting to be unlocked. And we cannot say that all of them were simply erased. The truth is more complicated. Your earliest years may have left effects that do not feel like remembering. You may not remember the first voice that calmed you. You may not remember learning that a familiar face meant safety. You may not remember the rooms where you first began to understand the world. But not remembering is not the same as nothing happening. Those years were full of learning, connection, and change. They helped build the person who would later begin to remember a life. Your earliest years were not empty. They were simply written before you had the words to read them.